With over 17 implants removed over a period of 20 years, Dr. Leir had the courage to stand up in the face of mainstream science and academics by having them look at the raw data.
In this video, I want to show you in all documentary. It's really bad recording, but I wanted to show you because Dr. K. Leir did surgeries and found physical implants, alien technology in the bodies of his patients. Here they're introducing some of the images from the different surgeries, the research that they did on alien technology found in the physical bodies of over 17 patients over the years. This is Dr. Roger Leir, and this is from the 2003 Scientific and Metaphysical Symposium. They're just showing the different images of the procedures. One of the things that you should notice is the size of these implants. They're very, very small.
But it's two pieces of metal which are held so tightly together that you cannot move one upon the other, and it's wrapped in a very strange, dark, gray chain membrane. Now, if you remember anything of my talk whatsoever, when you leave today, I want you to leave with the fact that this is the first object that we removed. We have set up the surgical candidates is they must have a demonstrable object that appears as an X-ray, a CAT scan, or an MRI. Now, I've read about, X-ray diffraction looks at the molecular structure of a particular metal, and all metals are structured with an arrangement of atoms. The arrangement of molecules, and they form a crystal. So every pure metal is a crystal. And that's the way metals are supposed to be, and that's the way they are found in nature. Now, if somehow you look at the metal and you don't find any arrangement of atoms, that metal is then called amorphous. Amorphous. Morph means form, a means without. So this is a metal without form. So here we have a high concentration of amorphous iron. Well, you don't find amorphous iron in nature, and I thought we just didn't find amorphous iron. So one of the things that we find, and it's just one of the mysteries again. Why do these have amorphous metals?
So what he's saying here is that they found some of these are electromagnetic, in that they are sending signals.
Detect anything, put anything out? The answer is yes. We found in several cases that they put out an electromagnetic field measured in a Gauss meter of about 6 milligauss. And if anybody's in electronics or radio, you'll know that's a pretty strong magnetic field. When they're taken out of the body, they don't do anything. Also on an instrument called a trimeter, we get a mid-range reading on a combined scale, electric scale, and magnetic scale, and that's also a pretty strong reading. We have an electrical engineer that we use, and he is designed a special probe that's connected with an oscilloscope so we can read the wave and see what it looks like, and he says there's a good indication that there's something going in and there's something coming out. So obviously these objects are in communication with somebody at some distance. And before you ask the question, are these locator devices? In my opinion, that's nonsense. Because for two primary reasons. If you're dealing with an intelligent critter from elsewhere, extraterrestrial, extra-dimensional, time traveler, or all of the above, I don't think their technology requires some kind of instrument to tell them that they're going to be able to track a being. And we know now about DNA to suspect that Bill Chalker still here? trance culture and you've got the instrumentation, you don't need devices to track things. You can track them all over the world. That coupled with the fact that I had the case in Brazil where a lady has an object at the foot very similar to what we had in the first case. And no, she was not wanting to move. They scared her to death because they took an insect and they made it stand still in midair in a small pencil-like beam of light. And they told her that they could find this insect anywhere on the planet that it went. So that convinced her that she shouldn't have these objects removed. So anyway, I want to leave on, and I'm going to tell you about the last case of the killer specialist. October the 29th, 2001. This is the patient. That must be my name. And there it is, folks. Now, if you can't see this, then you better go to your ocular specialist. Close up. Hello. Take me out for a walk. Come. Because they're attached to the surrounding tissue. When you see this thing come close to the surface, you'll see that all he does is reach in with an instrument, clamp it, and take it out without any resistance. Also, it was kind of sneaky because we had to hold it to get the thing to come to Papa. But it didn't want to come. See, 2 fingers on either side. That's to prevent it from moving. And we're going to get you. There we go. See, no resistance whatsoever. Comes right out. And it's about as big as a large pea. It's yellowish in color, very smooth, and it's a bivalve. It's in 2 sections connected in the middle like a clam. And on either upper end, you might say it has a dark line. We don't know whether that's something metallic or whether that's totally biological too. Now, the only test that we've done on this so far is some very superficial testing, and that superficial testing has told us
You the objects he's removed and reveal why they are described as a smoking gun that prove that visitors from other planets are routinely visiting Earth and keeping tabs on
of the mechanism. We found that this may be necessary because it's broadcasting a signal. And when you broadcast a signal, at least according to human technology, you have to have an antenna. And what better antenna could be than the skeleton of the body? It contains all the minerals necessary for an antenna. So perhaps that's why they're in such association with bone. The other aspect of it is if you're doing millions of these, then you're doing them all over the world. And there's a large number of abductees from Upper Pole in 1993, 1990. So to get remote information as to what is going on within the human body, like we tag bears, we tag porpoises and whales and so on, we can study their habits. How long a bear hibernates, what their metabolism is during the wintertime, and so they're doing with us. They put these devices in so that possibly they can gain remote information without ever having to come back and abduct us again. But I've synthetically divided them into 3 categories. Ones that are metallic and covered with a biological coating, ones that are non-metallic, and one that is biological. And each operates a little bit differently. But the 7 that we have that are metallic rods with biological coatings are virtually all the same. of being associated with the abduction phenomena. When Bob Bigelow or Nid decided to take on this responsibility of doing the metallurgy, I had to do some studying so that I could just interpret what they had to say. And we started getting reports back, and the first report we got back was they were comparing. This was Los Alamos National Laboratory. They were comparing these to meteorite samples. Well, we know somebody didn't step on a meteorite or get one whacked through the back. But if you go back and you look at ancient history and you look at ancient paintings and wood carvings and so on, even liturgical paintings with Jesus, you're going to look up and you're going to see a typical saucer UFO craft flying around, even back in those days. So, we don't know where we came from. We've been looking for the missing link for year after year after year. Where's the missing link? If we look at the writings of Zecharia Sitchin, he wrote a set of books called The Earth Chronicle. And he says that 435,000 years ago, from another planet in our solar system called Nibiru, the race of individuals called the Anunnaki came here. And their head geneticist, whose name was Enki, manipulated what was already here into human beings. So if we don't understand the history of where we came from in the first place, how can we possibly understand the present or the future?
I was educated at UCLA, and I worked in Camarillo, just a few blocks from where Dr. Leir works. And after we met, we decided to have a collaboration on analyzing these objects more thoroughly. A lot of the objects that he removed had not been analyzed adequately, so I've done a lot of microscopy and elemental analysis on these objects and come up with some interesting findings. One thing we found out is that the devices are definitely nanotechnological devices. They're not just simply metallic objects that somehow got into the body. They contain carbon nanotube electronics, and carbon nanotubes are the field I'm working in my regular job. And they give off radio signals, and they have odd nanostructures in them made of carbon nanotubes. Carbon nanotube electronics are a hot topic in material science today. By the way, there's many amazing properties about them. The aliens have apparently perfected the technology to use carbon nanotubes in these devices. And there are proprioceptor nerves that go into these the tissue capsule or gray membrane around these devices. And one of the most fascinating findings was that these devices contain many of them contain meteoric iron from the trace element pattern of gallium, germanium, precious metals like iridium and platinum. And iridium is not found on Earth in any great amounts. And we did the isotopic analysis of various elements from the metallic cores of several of these devices and found out that they were made from off-planet material, extraterrestrial material. There's a certain pattern of isotopes for each element on Earth, and if that pattern is varying by more than 1% or so, then it's conclusion can be drawn that the material came from off-planet. And some of the isotopic ratios and the elements in these devices are extremely skewed compared to quite unlike the isotopic ratios of elements on Earth. In fact, Dr. Coons, our colleague, who's also involved in the research, concluded that they probably came from somewhere else in the galaxy. They don't even seem to be from our solar system. These devices have carbon nanotube networks inside the metal. So they're obviously manufactured devices, and they seem to be well beyond the technology of civilian science at this point. They came from well before the discovery of carbon nanotubes in science on Earth. These people reported that these objects were put in 30, 40 years before a lot of times. They can be made into electronic networks. Carbon nanotubes are, like, we give you a little bit of background. Graphite is a hexagonal array of carbon atoms, and these layers are stacked. If you take one of these layers, one of these hexagonal arrays of carbon atoms, and roll it up into a tube, that's a carbon nanotube. And there's various types of carbon nanotubes with different numbers of walls, and single wall are the most studied right.
So I wanted to show you this because a lot of people have a lot of doubts. We find alien implants, technology during regression work. But the thing is that it's not something that I really like talking about openly because it's very controversial, and honestly I'm still learning about this. Like, I am still learning about the effects. Clients teach me every day based on their symptoms and the effects that they feel because of those implants. But this is a very controversial topic because after a certain time, we have noticed is that the aliens kind of became pretty smart about, okay, the technology is being found, so how do we put it in the body so that it doesn't get found? So normally what we find is that some of these implants may be in the lighter bodies, so that we don't even know that we have them unless we do sessions, hypnosis, regression. That's basically the way to find it, unless it's physical in the body and you do some of that work to be able to find them. But normally what we find is that after a certain time in the recent 20-30 years is that the implants are going into the lighter bodies of who we are. So we have the physical body, we have the spirit body, we have the soul body, and within those bodies there are layers. So the physical body has the different 7 layers, and the 7 layers represent also the chakra body. So within the physical body we have layers, and sometimes those implants are being put in the lighter body so that you're not going to see them with technology. You can only see it through hypnosis regression works, which makes it even worse because, I think one of the books that I share sometimes is from John Mack, the book on adoptions. And John Mack was a psychiatrist and professor at Harvard University, a lot of powerful reputation with that. So if he put his name on the line, his reputation on the line to do some of this work, you can grasp the importance of this. But it's something that we really, I was in denial when I found my first implant. I was in denial. It took me over a year to get really serious to do that work, to work on removing that implant, because I didn't believe it. And it came with a lot of things that were very confusing. So I think I'll share my experience, because I think that's the best way that I can convey the importance of this. And the reason why some of these implants are crucial to work on is because normally they are attached to parts of the body where we have a lot of trauma, where we may have challenges with, specifically around that chakra that is near that area where it's put. And in my practice, I don't know why I'm having so many issues talking about this, because it's like, I don't even want to talk about it, but I started the video, so I might as well continue. But, it's like it took me, when I found that first implant, not only it made me feel special, like, oh my goodness, I can finally help, which is, I think, something that we all want to work on. We all want to be of value. We all want to feel like we have purpose and meaning and value. So when we meet some of these energies, they're going to play with us. And sometimes a lot of these implants, the origin, we always ask to go to the origin, because the origin is not here. It's very unlikely that we're going to find someone that is implanted here in this life. Normally it's in past lives. So if we don't do the work to go to the origin, to understand what made us give permission in the first place, then we won't get it. And the first time that I did a session where the implant showed up, I was in denial. I was really in denial, and I didn't want to believe that it could be. And it took me almost a year to get to the point where I was like, okay, I'm going to have to work on this. I'm really going to, you can see myself even doing this with my body, like, no, don't say anything. Because at first I didn't want to talk about this. I didn't want to talk about the fact that we were finding attachments and ET implants, even with my clients in the first year of practice. Because practice, meaning in the first year of practice in a therapeutic protocol, like a therapeutic practice, not in the healing and shamanic side of things, but in the therapeutic protocol. How do we fight this? How do we work through this? And honestly, it's way more effective than doing anything else, even the shamanic stuff, because the shamanic pieces are there to work on soul retrieval. But the thing that is that if we have some of these implants, it doesn't matter that we this soul retrieval. If we don't understand why, if we let the soul retrieval be done by somebody else, and we don't understand our part in that process, we're going to continue to repeat the problem. That's my belief. That's my perception. That's how I understand that it is the key to understand how to be done with this once and for all. And a lot of people, we don't want to know. We just want someone to do it for us. Just save me, please. And that comes with a lot of issues. So again, it took me almost a year to get to the point where I understood why some of those things were happening, what were the consequences, the importance of it. And it took me a year of really feeling like I was not stable, I was not grounded, I was completely questioning things at a level that was going to drive me crazy if I didn't really get some answers for me, for what this meant for me, not for anybody else, but for me. What did this mean for me and for my journey in this life as a soul, as a spirit, etc. And it took a year. It really, I'm not gonna lie, it took a year to get ready. I had to put that session on hold for a whole year before I was ready to in between that, I was doing work and I was working through layers and layers to be able to get ready for that session where I actually got to the point where I was like, I get it, I understand, and I'm ready to let it go. And the reason why I'm saying that I put it on hold is because even though I was working on the layers, it felt that there was a part of me that was like, oh no, this cannot be real. So it was little by little, a lot of meditation and contemplation, a lot of understanding myself. Why do I do the things that I do? What causes me to do X, Y, and Z? And why do I respond this way and that way? And it's one of the hardest things that we can do. The healing journey it can be so hard because it gets so tiring because it's so important. The more important it is, the more challenging it's going to be. And before, when they were finding these physical implants, that they were able to see it with X-rays. What we find when I ask these clients, why is it in the lighter bodies? Why is it in that part of yourself, of, how do I say it in English? That part of your being is holding that implant. Why are they putting it there? So when we're interviewing some of these energies, aliens, the Greys and reptilians and so on, and some of the other energetic beings that come forward when we ask for who put this there and why, and we start interviewing them, we get answers that are sometimes, they want to play with us because they don't want to give us the real answers. And sometimes we get some answers, but we really have to dive deep in order for us to get to the core. And the thing is that when we find some of these implants, people are in denial that it could be something negative. I was in denial. I was one of those people that it took me almost a year. And I understand why, because this is like decomposing and taking away mask of who we are and mask of this reality and the purpose of being and everything. So it goes against what we've been taught. It goes against what we have believed for so long. And remember, our body is composed of 72 billion cells. Imagine that within 72 billion cells, we have 72 billion cells composed in the physical body, but you also have to take into consideration that we have the energy body that composes the spirit, and we have the energy body that composes the soul. So when we start thinking about what this means, we have to go through those layers of the stored memories that are in our photons. That's why I always say our inner highest being, because to me, my higher self is my inner being that has the memories of creation through the soul, through that connection with source, through my soul. And the spirit that holds all the memories of many different experiences of what is important for me to work here. But it also has memories of everything else that I have experienced as a soul. So my inner higher self that has all the answers in the photons, in the memories of my energetic being, imagine how many layers of illusion I have to push through in order for me to awaken as a being. That is a lot of work. We have to go through layers and layers and layers and layers, because we have the physical body, we have the spiritual body, and the soul body that have layers within layers. So 72 billion cells in the physical body that have stored memories, a lot of lifetimes, thousands of lifetimes, if not millions, at least hundreds of, wow, this is reality. And now I'm coming in with a new reality that it goes against the one that is in my cellular memory, that now I have to help those versions of myself understand this was not the truth. Imagine how many people, I mean, just like our ancestors experience everything that they experience with the conquistadores and all of that. Imagine before that, and before that, and before that, and before that, going back to the origin throughout time and space. And we have to go through the layers of what it means to be in this reality and the purpose of it all. So no wonder why we're confused, and it takes time, and we can go into depression even, especially if we're very spiritual. And then we get hit with aliens are real, and potentially there's some of them that are implanting me because they want to keep me trapped, and they want my energy in order for them to continue to exist, and they want to control me in a way that is against my highest being. It's not in alignment with my mission here. So now my mission feels like it's never going to be possible, because I have an asshole controlling me from another reality and just moving things in order for me to always be triggered by certain things. So now I have to work really hard at letting go and working through and healing the things that trigger me, so that they have nothing to anchor themselves in. And that is a lot of work. That's a lot of work. So you have science, you have a lot of proof here, but there is more. If you want to know more about ET, obviously, ufology, how do you say that? Ufology, oh my God, I don't even know how to say it. UFOlogy, okay? I hope you get it. So if you want to learn more about that, you can go and do that, but you can also read some of the books from some of the very reputable and recognizable people that are out there. Dr. George Leir is one of them. Apparently he has many books, so I'm gonna go find them and read them. And John Mack and many others. There is tons of evidence out there if you're ready for that, because it's definitely going to push again what you think you know. And I like to think myself, I'm always evolving. If I have the same understanding that I had yesterday, that means I'm not progressing. So giving ourselves permission, for me, it has been key to give myself permission to know that what I know today could be not what I understand tomorrow. Because if I want to progress, I have to evolve my filter of consciousness. So, this is hard to do sometimes, because we really believe in something and we hold tight. But when we let go and we really can be okay with the change in understanding and the expansion, it can really make us healthier to go through some of these things that we go through as we go through our spiritual evolution, our spiritual awakening. There's so many layers. I just want you to be patient with yourself. Find a support group. That is key. Having a support group that can hear you out, that can go through your dreams. A lot of these things happens in the dream time. Find a support group and really open up and talk and express and heal. Start your healing journey if you haven't, because that is crucial. There is no way around it. It is crucial. So I'm going to leave it here for now. And let me know in the comments what you think. This is all crazy, and just share away. Maybe even your own experiences.